Hello there everyone. Today I want to show you how to make this macrame spiral ring, and it looks like this. So this is the top of it. You have a bead there in the center and then your cord spiraling outward and then your ring band, and this is what it looks like on. So obviously because it's cord, it's nice and comfortable to wear, and you can obviously use whatever bead you want and size as well, and then make this spiral to fit whatever size you need it to be for your finger. So if you want to learn how to make this, then keep watching. And these are the few things that we're going to need. Now first off, we'll need whatever cord we're working with. In this case I'm using a 0.5mm thickness of cord here, and this is just one that has a beautiful sparkle and like metallic effect to it in a blue tone, and I thought this would go nicely with the bead that I'm using. This is a 6mm round blue coated hematite. So I thought these two would look nice together. But you can change up the materials. You can use a different thickness of cord, thinner or thicker, that's up to you, and also a different size bead. You'll just need to adjust how we make the ring, but it's the same technique anyway. So let's get all the materials together and let's get started. So the first thing I've done is cut a length of my cord. We just need this one length to begin with. This is about 70 centimeters long. Now it can be shorter or longer depending on your project. First of all, the materials that you're using, but also the size you need your ring to be. But rather have too much than too little to work with, because you don't want to run out during the project. Also, we will be using more cord than this, but I'm going to be cutting off shorter lengths as we go to add into the project. So for now, we just need to cut this one length. So then what we need to get out now as well is the bead that we're using. Now like I said, this is a 6mm round, and then what we need to do is thread this cord that we're using, the long piece that we just cut off, through this bead 3 times. So that also means when you're picking your bead, you need to make sure the hole in it is large enough for whatever cord you're using to go through it 3 times. So a little tip that can help you do that as well is if you get one end of your cord and then you use that to thread through, what you can do is get a lighter, if it's a synthetic cord that is, and just singe the end and then roll it together with your fingers. So that way you kind of create a point and a bit of a needle there. And that helps making it a lot easier to get it through your bead as well. So to then attach the two together, I'm going to get my bead here and then first thread it onto my cord, just through once, and then want to get it almost about halfway down the cord here. It's not crucial that it's exactly halfway down, just roughly. So that's the one time, and then we need to go back through it again in the same direction, so coming through the same hole, going all the way through again. So basically we have a cord here, part of it is looping around one of the sides of the bead, and then we want to do the same thing, make sure we go over to the other side of the bead, have it come through again the same direction, like that. So we now have a loop on the other side as well, so it looks like this. And then what we need to do now, before we tighten these in place, we need to just start attaching some more cords to these loops around the sides of the bead. So to do that, this is where we need to use the shorter lengths of cords that we're going to add in now. And I just cut off a short length really. Anything 20 to 30 centimeters is fine. We don't need to use that much of it to actually make knots with, but we just need to make sure we have enough to work with as well. So about 20 to 30 centimeters. And then what I'm going to do is fold it in half, put the ends together, so up here find roughly where the middle is. Keep hold of that. And then what we need to do is use a lat's head knot to attach all these cords with. So that means start on one side at a time here. So I'm just going to start on this side. You want to put this loop from underneath and through the loop around the side of the bead there. Keep hold of it and then take the tails and pull them through. And then as you tighten it, it'll tighten up there and it'll be attached now to the long cord through the bead. Like that. And then you want to keep doing this with as many cords as you need. Again, take another one, find the middle, get your loop, and then attach it with a lax head knot. And you just want to get as many as you need to go around this one side of the bead on this side, attach them here, do the same on the other side. And obviously it might be different how many you need depending what materials that you use. So if you're using a thicker or thinner cord, or if you're using say a larger bead as well, you'll probably need more than what I'm using. So just keep doing this. So now I've finished attaching all the cords on both sides here, and then in my case I've ended up with 5 lengths I attached with a lax head knot on each side here. Obviously, like I said, it might be different for you depending on the materials that you're using. So it looks like this now. So now what we need to do is tighten these around the bead. So I'm just going to pull that tight, one side at a time, like this. And then we need to do the other one as well. You're just going to have to move the knots here. So they're coming out basically right by the holes. So just like this. So now they're sitting nice and tight all the way around the bead there, 5 on each side. So then what we need to do now is start making the spiral that's going to go around and around until we reach the size that we need it to be. And what I'm going to do is these two cords that are straight opposite each other are the ones that are running through the bead. So that's what we want to start working with first. So just have a look at them. Whichever one is longest, if you have one that's longer than the other one, that's the one we're going to start using. In my case, that's this one. So what I'm going to do is start with one side at a time here of my bead and just start working with that. And I'm going to be going in this direction around the bead, but you can also go the other direction. It's the exact same technique, we're just working in the opposite direction then. But I'm going to be going this way, so I find that most natural to me. And then what I'm going to do is just separate my cords out here, because this long one that's coming out from the hole in the bead, that's going to be the holding cord throughout the whole spiral. So to start off, what we're going to be using is double half-hitch notches. So if you're not too familiar with macrame knots, I do have a video as well that might be helpful. I'm going to put a link to that in the description box below. But otherwise, what we need to do, the first two cords here are coming out there from the very first lark's head knot. So that was one cord that turned into two working cords now. So just separate them out, and then the very first one you run into comes underneath the holding cord here. You want to do a double half hitch with that. So around the cord, back around again, and through the loop. So when you look at it like this, you get a 6, like that. So then what we need to do is tighten this all the way up till you can't tighten any further, to basically where this holding cord is coming out from the bead. Now that was just one, we need to do another one to make it a double half hitch. So again, around the holding cord, back and through the loop. So you're getting your 6 where your working cord is looping around the holding cord and coming through the loop to catch it there. Again, tighten that all the way up. Now that's the first double half hitch. We continue doing this. Take the very next cord you run into, and again around the cord, back around and through the loop, just like that. So you get your 6 looping around the holding cord. Then keep hold of your holding cord there, so when you're tightening your knot here, it's nice and taut, so you have some tension in there. Once more for the double half hitch, around, back through the loop, just like that. Now obviously right now I'm just kind of working with this in freehand. If you can pin it into a board or something, but we haven't done much work yet, so there isn't much there to pin into. But it's completely up to you how you feel comfortable working with it. I'm just going to keep doing this. So I'll move on to my next cords now. So I'll separate them out to get them ready. And the very next one I run into is this one, and that's what I'm going to make my next double half hitch with. So you just continue doing this all the way around this side. And then once we get to the top there, we reach the other cord that's coming out through the bead. I'm just going to show you what we do then. So I've now gone all the way around this side there, and I've reached the point now where I've bumped into the cord opposite where we started, that's also coming out from the bead. So all we're going to do with that is the exact same thing, pretend like it's part of the whole thing. So just take your holding cord over that and use it as your next working cord and make a double half hitch with that. So the exact same thing, so it gets incorporated into the spiral as well. Just like that. Make a double half hitch, and then we've now reached the beginning of the next side, so the opposite side that we just worked on. Again, just separate your cords out. The very next one you run into is your next working cord. Make your double half hitch, and then all you do is continue doing this around this side as well until you reach the top again. And then once you've done that, I'll show you the next step. So I've now completed that side as well and gone all the way back down to the bottom there. So what we have now technically is 2 circles around the bead there. The first one is the very inner one, right close to the bead. that one we made by attaching all these cords in the first place with the lark's head knot, and then the second one here is the one we're going all the way around a full circle. So what we need to do now is start going around again with the third circle, but this is a little bit different because, as you can see, the inner circle that we already made, that's smaller than the one we've just made, and every circle we make is going to be slightly larger than the previous one. So that means these cords that we have now aren't going to be enough, because if you just keep using the same ones, it'll kind of crunch up instead of becoming a flat spiral. So to make sure that we have enough cords to go around and make this to a flat spiral, we need to add some more cords as we go. Because if we have a look on the very inner circle, the first one we did where we attached the cords, we used the lark's head knot, and the spacing that knot takes up is equivalent to one double half hitch that we used on the outer circle there. So that means each lark's head knot that we attached turned into 2 working cords, and with each of them working cords we made a double half hitch. Hence why the outer circle there is larger than the inner one, but it's still a flat spiral that we're making. So that's why, to be able to continue doing that and keep it flat, we need to then attach more cords as we go around next time here. So I'm going to start doing that straight away here, because we kind of have a little gap before we reach the very next working cord from the very beginning of the circle that we just made. So I'm just going to fill that in. This is still the holding cord, the long one here. I'm going to be using that throughout the whole spiral. So the next cord that I'm going to cut off, again we're just cutting off cords as we go and adding them in. This next one is going to be a longer one, so about 50 to 60 centimeters for this. Again, it's difficult saying specifically how long, but rather have too much than too little, because these ones as well, both on this side, because this is where the hole is, right where the hole is on that side, and where we have the original cords that's going through the bead, and on the other side straight opposite as well. On these two sides where the holes are, we're going to be attaching longer ones, because we're also going to use them to help make the ring band. So again, I get this long piece of cord, fold it in half to find about the middle there. I then take my holding cord here, and I'm now going to be attaching my cords from now on onto that holding cord, again using the lark's head knot. So I take it underneath the loop there, underneath the holding cord, just like that, bring it back across, grab the tails and pull them through. So just like this, you have a bit of a pretzel shape. So the exact same knot that we used to attach all the cords right next to the bead in the beginning. So tighten that, and then bring it all the way down as you're tightening it, so it sits right next to your previous knots and won't go any further, just like that. And then now we're ready, because we filled in that little space, to then jump back over to the other side here and connect the whole thing. So we just continue doing the same thing now. When I continue making our double half hitches, the holding cord is the same. The very next cord you run into that's coming out from the project is underneath, and then you just make your double half hitch with that again. So just like this, tighten that all the way down next to the cord you just attached then. Once more to make it a double. There we go, and tighten it. And I'm going to take the next one as well. So that was one from this side. Now I'm taking my next working cord again, coming from underneath, making my double half hitch, like that, and there we go. That's now 2 after we attached the very first one. So now I'm at a point again where I want to add in my next cord. Now there can be a pattern to this. I'm roughly going to make 2 double half hitches with 2 of my cords, then add in, make 2 double half hitches, and then add in a new cord. That's roughly the pattern that I'm going to be using. But I'd rather just say, just keep an eye, because right now I can see there's a bit of spacing until I reach my next working cord. So this is the perfect time to then bring in a new one to basically fill out that spacing, to stop it from kind of crumbling up into a curved piece rather than a flat spiral. So it doesn't have to be 2 double half hitches and then add in. Really just kind of judge it as you go. If you feel like there's a space now when you need to add one, then you add one there. So I'm going to again use the lark's head knot there to attach it, push it all the way down and tighten it, and then to seal that in place, I'm going to move on to the very next working cord coming from underneath, and again just make a double half hitch. just like that, and then that cord we just attached is also nice and secure in the piece and ready for the next go around that we're going to do. Once we've done this circle, again take the next one, and then this is nice spacing again now. Just situate it nicely and evenly so my knots and this circle, this go around, becomes nice and even with the other one and nice and flat as well. So I've done 2 again now. So I'm going to take my next cord, add that in. You want to keep going like this all the way around, gradually adding in some more cords where you feel it's necessary until you reach the very bottom again. So where we attach the very long ones. Then once you've done that, then we have another full circle, and then I'll show you what we do from there. So I've now continued on this go around and I reached about halfway with this full circle, and what I just want to remind you is that when you reach this point halfway where we have the cords opposite each other that are longer and where they're coming out from the bead originally, I just want to remind you that this is where you need to add in, instead of the smaller, shorter cords here on the sides, you need to add in a longer one, just like we did on the other side here. That's going to help form the ring band. So because we're straight opposite that now, and I have the one that's longer originally through the bead, this is where we want to add in that longer cord. So just the exact same way, just make sure that it's longer, just like the other side. And then once you've done that, you just want to continue the exact same way with the other half, or the other side of it here, until you reach down the bottom again so you have one full circle again. So I'm adding in the longer one up here because we're going to be using 3 longer cords on each side of the spiral here to create the ring band with. So I just wanted to remind you of that, and then continue here all the way around. So I've now reached the other side again here, so I've made 1 full circle again, and then what I have now is 3 in total. Now what we need to do is continue and start making the next one, so that'll be the 4th one. That's again going to be gradually larger than the previous one. Now because in the one we just made, we added in cords along the way with the lark's head knot. So every time we added in 1 length of cord with the lark's head knot, that's then giving us the 2 working cords for the next go around. So because of that, in this one, we technically shouldn't really have to add in cords. We just have to go around making knots. But I still recommend just keeping an eye, because you can end up with a little gap somewhere. And if that happens, rather just add in a cord if you need to. So just keep an eye on it, add a cord if you need to, but otherwise go around making another one. So I've now completed this circle as well. So what I have now is 4 circles going all the way around in a spiral. And like I explained before, in this go around that I just did, I didn't have to add in any cords because I had the ones from the previous row. But like I said, just keep an eye on yours. If you had to add in 1 here and there, then that's fine. Rather that than have a bit of spacing and then have it stop being flat as well. But now is also the time where you want to start thinking a bit about the sizing of the piece, because obviously we need to make this spiral as large as it needs to be on top of your finger. So to help determine that, you can just from this point as you go, measure it by picking it up and just lying it on your finger there, and just see how it looks. So if you feel like this is the right size, what we just need to remember is we need to make 1 more circle regardless, because we need to have the very last one where we finish off all the cords. But I know that this one is a little bit too small still, so I will still want to go around and make some circles. So you just want to keep doing that basically in the same way. The next one I'm going to have to add in some more cords again, because we used them all in the previous one. So I'm going to go around doing that until I reach the size that I want it to be, where once we reach that, we need to do 1 last go around again. That's going to be the final one where we're going to go around and finishing off all the cords. So just account for that when you're looking at the sizing, that you need 1 final round as well. So keep doing this until you have the right size, and then I'll show you how we finish it all off. So I've now gone all the way around again, making my 5th circle and attaching some cords along the way whenever I felt it was necessary. So now I know that I'm almost at the size that I want my whole spiral to be, so that means the next one that I'm going to go around doing now is the 6th one, and that's going to be my very last circle as well. And it's then in this one, we also, as we go, we want to make sure to finish off our cords as we go around. So that's what I'm going to show you now. So what we're going to do is start our next circle again the exact same way. So grab your holding cord there, take the very first working cord that's coming underneath that you run into, and then I'm not going to be using glue or anything else to finish off these ends. I'm going to work them into the piece. So the first one we do the same thing, do a double half hitch, with the very first working cord we run into to start off this next circle. So do a full double half hitch like this. And then what we do, we move on to the next one. So get your next working cord ready. That one. But then before we just start working with this, what we need to do is take the cord, the working cord that we just used to make the very first knot there, double half hitch, we need to bring that in with the holding cord. So now we basically have the two holding cords here. And what we're going to do is use these as if they were one. So we're going to take the next working cord that's coming underneath and make a double half hitch around both of these. So around the cords and back through and pull it through the loop so you get your 6. And then you just want to tighten that all the way down there. The exact same way, we just got the two holding cords instead. Do one more time to get your double half hitch. Just like that. So now what we need to do is the holding cords here, we need to get rid of one of them. Now obviously this is where we need to have our scissor handy as well throughout this whole circle. What we need to do, just get the other side out of the way, is we have the long one, that's the original holding cord that's going through the whole piece. You don't want to cut that one off because that's what we're going to continue using and also use to make the ring band. So you want to make sure you always take the short one to cut off here. So the one that was the previous working cord that we trapped in place with the one that we just used. Cut that off down pretty close so you have maybe about 1 millimeter left. So you now are back to one holding cord here. And then what we need to do is get the next working cord ready that we'll run into. Now for this, we do the same thing. Bring the previous working cord in with the holding cord here. So again, we just got rid of one, but then we're back to 2 again. And then we do the exact same thing. Make a double half hitch with the next working cord around both of these holding cords. Now what you just want to be aware of, when you cut the previous one off, the short holding cord, now you might just have a little end left sticking out there from the knot. You just want to make sure that when you're tightening this one now, that you're catching that end and making sure the knot goes above it, so it gets caught inside and not end up sticking out. So that's one. Then the other one for the double half hitch. Tighten that down. So it's fastening, every time we're making a knot we're fastening the previous cord in place. So we can then just go in, cut it off, make sure you take the short one, cut it off as close as you can get. Make sure you only cut this one off, not any other ones by accident. Again, take your holding cord that's now down to 1 again. Prepare the next working cord. And then we're just going to keep doing the same thing. So the very next one you run into is this one. Bring the previous working cord in with the holding cord. So again you have 2. And this is what we're going to be doing throughout the whole piece. Do your double half hitch. Make sure you just catch that little end that you'll probably have left from the previous one you just cut off. And if you don't, just loosen it up again and try and make sure that you do catch it. Just like that. There we go. The other one for the double half hitch. And then this one is sealed in place. And then you just keep going like this. So what we're going to end up with, as we've done a bit more, you're going to see you're going to have a really nice and neat edge the whole way around without having cut off or glued anything in place that might end up irritating. So do this, and just to remind you as well, make you aware that this is I'm going to do this halfway around, and then at the top here we had the long cords that we attached right at the beginning. So the first one we made, those long cords you want to make sure that you leave them. So on this side we're getting to first, we have 3 long cords, and then when we get down to the other one here we have 2. It's going to end up being 3, including the holding cord that we're using. It's going to be the third one. So just make sure that when you get to them, that you go through just making double half hitches like normal, and you don't cut them off, because that's what we're going to use to make the ring band. So keep doing this, and then we'll finish off the edge just nicely. So I've now gone halfway around the outer circle here, and I just wanted to remind you that when you get to this point where you have your long ones left, this is where you just want to be aware to not keep cutting them off. Now I've just made my last one with a short one, so this one I do need to cut off, But before I do that, I just need to make a double half hitch with the next one, which in my case then is a long one. So just continue like normal, make a double half hitch with this long one around the 2 holding cords here, bring it down, make sure to catch that tail, like that, tighten it, and the second one for a double, and then we can cut this one off, the short one, out of the holding cords, just like all the other times. And then now we just want to continue. So before, if with the short ones, we would now bring in the working cord that we just used in with the holding cord. We don't do that here. Just want to continue to the next working cord because it's still a long one. So these stay in the same place. And just do a double half hitch, catching that little tail that you have. Working your way across here. So this is just making a double half hitch around the single holding cord. So that's the second one to the third long one that I've got left still. We also just use that to make a regular double half hitch. Like this. Tighten that down. And then once we've done this one, we've used all the 3 long cords on this side. So now we go back to the short ones, and in this case we then go back into then along the way cutting them off. So start with the first one, make your first double half hitch, like that, and then before you use the next working cord, get it ready there, and then this is where you just bring in that working cord you just used, and then your next one, make your double half hitch around both of them, just like that, and tighten, and just continue the same way that I showed you on the other side. So you just want to do this all the way around to the other side again, and then until you reach the bottom here where you have your 2 long ones that are the very last 2. So obviously you want to make sure to not cut them off when you reach down here, because then when you cut all the other short ones off, we're left with the 2 long ones there, and then the holding cord throughout the whole piece that's a long one as well. So keep doing this, and then we need to start on the ring band. So now I've gone all the way around and gotten rid of all the cords except for the 3 long ones here on each side. So what we need to do now is use these to make the ring band with. So I'm just going to show you on the one side here because it's the same on both of them. And what you can do now as well to make it maybe a little bit easier to work with, because we have quite a bit of work done now, you can always pin this into a board if you need to, if it's more comfortable to work with. But then what I'm going to do is start on one side, and then this just happens to be the tail of the holding cord that I used throughout the whole piece. So I'm just going to continue with that. This is still going to be the holding cord through the ring band here, this half of the ring band. So what I'm going to do is it's coming in this direction across the 2 long ones here that are going to be the working cords. What I want to do is pull it back across the opposite direction above the 2 holding cords there, and then we need to build a row right underneath the row that's already there. So I take the very first working cord that I run into, go around the holding cord and pull it through like this, so you get a reverse 6. And then what you need to do when you're tightening this is your holding cord needs to be held very taut up against, and actually pull it up a little bit like this, so when you're tightening this, the row that's coming straight underneath the other one is going to be nice and tight below the previous one. That's one. We need to do another one to make a double half hitch, the same knot that we made throughout the whole spiral, tighten that. So that's the one half of the next row. Grab the very next working cord, and again a double half hitch, and then tighten that. Again holding the holding cord taut and pull it up a little bit. And the other half to make it a double half hitch. Make sure that that row is nice and close underneath the previous one. So this is now the first row on this side of the ring band. So now we want to come back across the other way again to build the next row. So using the same holding cord, bring it across the two working cords in the opposite direction. And the first one you run into was the last one you used in the previous row, and just make your double half hitch with that. So you basically keep swapping hands here as you're making your knots from one row to the next. And when you're tightening this, make sure again you're holding your holding cord taut and pull it up a little bit so the row that you're making now goes flush right below the previous one. So it becomes nice and neat. So like this, double half hitch, and then the next working cord, make your double half hitch with that as well, to finish off this row. And then once you've done this, a finished row there, you've now got two full rows at the beginning of the ring band, and you basically just want to continue doing this. So for the next one, take your holding cord back across the opposite way again, and just continue to build your next row here. So the first working cord you run into, and do your double half hitches. And this is going to then create your ring band. Now on this side we're going to make half the size your ring band needs to be, and when we've done that, we're going to go to the other side and do the same thing. So once you've gotten a decent length here, you want to start measuring it against either your finger or a ring mandrel to get the right size, because this sides need to be basically meet. They need to both meet down the middle on the back of your finger there to then be joined together to create the full ring band. So keep doing this until you reach the right length for half of your ring band. So I've now done both halves of my ring band here, and then what we need to do now is bring the two together. And the way that I do that is pick up my piece and then flip it to the back, because obviously this is going to be the back side, so we want this to fasten underneath there. And then what we're going to do is just simply bring these ends together, and then what you'll find is you have three ends on each side there, and they're going to basically be facing each other. So we have one cord from each side going towards the bottom, one on each side towards the top there, and then one on each side in the middle. So you want to keep them like this, so the ones straight across from each other we want to connect. So I'm just going to start with the middle one, it doesn't matter which one you start with really, and just over the middle there tie a regular overhand knot, and then tighten it down like this. And then what we want to do is make another one straight over the one you've already just made, making sure before you tighten the second one that the first one is sitting just how you want it to sit. So just tighten it to the place you want it to be, keep hold of it, and then tighten the second one here. It's just the first knot here that's going to be a little bit fiddly. Once you got this one in place, the other ones are going to be much easier. So that's the middle one. Now I'm going to go to my side one, do the same thing, a simple overhand knot, tighten it all the way down, and then one more. Now what I like to do is just try and kind of start with the opposite cord every time. So we're basically making a bit of a square knot, but it's not too crucial. Like that. So we've done the middle one and the top one. Now I'm going to do the bottom ones here. Just the exact same thing. Regular overhand knot. Tighten it down so it's nice and secure. Then one more. And tighten that. So just like this. So now the two ends and the two halves of the ring band are basically connected together. So all you're left with now is all these tails that we obviously want to get rid of. Now if you're working with a synthetic cord or thread, then what you can do is get a scissor first of all, cut it down so you have about a couple of millimeters left, then get a lighter and singe down the ends, and that's going to seal it in place as well. If you don't have a synthetic cord, then I'm going to use glue on here as well, And I'm just going to use the GS Hypo Cement, so you can finish it off with glue as well, because you do want to just secure these knots in place. So just get your glue and then just go around your knots here to secure them in place, so we can then go in and cut off all the excess cord here, all the tails, and get rid of it. And then once you've done that, then it'll be ready to wear. So I've then added my glue there, let it dry a little bit, and I'm just going to go in and cut off all the excess tails here. So just cut it off as close as you can get, without obviously cutting off the knots themselves, because then you might have the whole thing come undone, the connection here. So cut all these tails off, and then once you've done that, we will have the finished ring. So there we go. And it looks like this. The ring band all the way across, so because it's cord as well, it's going to be nice and comfortable to wear. And then on top we have a spiral with a bead in the middle. So that's how you make this ring. Pretty simple technique, where you can obviously use so many different materials to get different looks in this, and different sizes of materials as well. So I really hope you enjoyed this tutorial, and thank you very much for watching. Hello there everyone. Today I want to show you how to make this beaded Celtic knot macrame necklace, and it looks like this. So in this one I've used some sparkly rondelles here in purple colour, and I just used a white cord, and the whole thing is one piece, so this focal part is connected to the chains going up the side, and I've just attached my clasps here. So that's what I'm going to teach you today in the necklace form here. You can also use this technique to make earrings